back with the Film Yap crew for another edition of our podcast, vodcast, Yap versus Yap, whatever you want to call it. And of course, we're going to be talking today about the Oscars, our reaction to it. Joining me today are Alec Toombs and Bob Bloom. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Well, Bob, why don't I start with you? Give me your impressions of not just how the awards went, but the telecast, the whole experience.
Well, it seemed very relaxed, drama-free, and everyone seemed to have a good time. In fact, it seemed maybe too good of a time. Like there was a lot of, hey, we got to show that last year was some sort of outlier and that we're all nice people here and, we keep our hands to ourselves.
Yes, host Jimmy Kimmel was he got some good riffs in on that point. Alec, what was your take?
I'm a fan of Kimmel's. I have been since his Man Show days back in the late 90s. I thought he gave a good monologue. I enjoyed all the jokes involving Seth Rogen and Steven Spielberg and drug use. I thought those were really funny. His gag about Judd Hirsch wearing a Mission Impossible mask and actually being Tom Cruise, I thought was really funny. Probably the lowest blow he took was in the In Memoriam segment with who's a gentleman who just passed away, Robert
Blake.
Yeah.
Robert Blake. Thank you. Pretty tasteless, but I also thought that joke was pretty funny. So
yeah. I thought Kimmel did a pretty good job. I thought this was probably, I think it was his third turn as the host, and it was probably, I think, his best one. He was funny. He was not too political. He kept things moving. Although he did have one moment where I tweeted it last night, where things where if you have two winners, like two co-winners, I think it was for editing, one person speaks and then the other one starts to speak and they just stop them. And the guy said something like we've got to talk about our families, and then the music swells, and then Kimmel makes some kind of a joke and proceeds to do one of these work in the crowd time waster things. It's not funny. Goes to Malala and tries to get her on the joke, and of course, being who she is, I just don't think she's genetically capable of doing shtick. And I was just like, well, apparently we're not going to talk about our families. And just other than that, that was the one moment I was just like, we could have lost that little segment and let people talk longer. I thought
his little Malala Land riff I thought was funny too, though.
I did, but I don't know. I think she has very much positioned herself as someone who's very serious, and spiritual, and not humorous.
She probably doesn't see a lot of movies.
She probably does not see a lot of movies. What about I don't know. I put in my tweets like the fashion, all that kind of stuff. I am I'm not into that. I know lots of people who literally they watch the 3 hours of the red carpet stuff before and then don't actually watch the ceremony, which to me is nuts. Well, my only comments on that kind of stuff was there was some woman in a huge white lotus flower dress that came up way over her head, and she was seen sitting in the 7th row. No idea who she was, but quite blocking.
I think her name is Toombs. I think know. She had something to do with the nominated song from Black Panther.
Okay, good for her, but who wears that dress to the Oscars so nobody for several rows behind her could see anything? I would have been very upset.
Yeah, I was at Nick's last night, and there was a small crowd. It was only 7 or 8 of us, and it was 4 or 5 women and me, Nick and Tim Brooke, and we were getting a little catty at some of the and I was among them, some of the women's fashions. I don't like, all the ruffles and big puffy sleeves and stuff. I hated that. I was just dissing every single one. Florence Pugh, and, we were just having a grand old time with the fashions.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
My only other two that stood out for me than the white flower lotus lady was Florence Pugh. I don't know, she came out and she looked like she was wearing like exercise tights underneath her dress, which was then falling open, and then the dress itself just looked like a ratty old towel that she picked up at the gym and wrapped around her. I was like, I don't know. plus with like the with strange hair and nose ring, I was just like not working it. The big fashion one for me though was the one that I cracked up on was Lady Gaga. There was a whole thing about would she not be able to attend and sing her song, and she ended up doing it. She did the red carpet, and she's all Lady Gaga out,
The
and then
champagne carpet.
excuse me, the champagne carpet, and then she comes up for her song, and she's like deliberately in this grunge mode where she like has taken all of her makeup off, and her hair has like badly chapped lips, and they did weird camera work where it's like they're like
Yeah,
way extreme close up on her the whole time, as she said, "Make sure to show my chapped lips." And I don't know, that just struck me as so set up and false. She did a great job on the song because, of course, she's a fantastic singer. But I don't. I was just like, if she'd actually like showed up on the champagne carpet looking like that, and then gone on to. But my point is, she spent hours getting all dolled up just to then take it off for this, true, authentic moment.
yeah. And then I don't remember if it was Nick's wife Abby or one of the other women said, and now she's gonna have to have somebody put all that makeup and that dress back on so she can go to one of the after parties.
You're right. I mean, I would love to see if there were pictures of her for after parties. I bet she didn't look like that at the after party. Alec,
No?
you had something to say.
I did think it was cool that Jamie Lee Curtis's dress matched the champagne carpet.
Yeah,
I don't know if you caught that. I also thought, if we're talking women's fashion, I thought Janelle Monáe looked incredible, and where her career's gone kind of has me tickled pink. I caught her in a stage dive at a show at South by Southwest back in 2009. So to see her killing it now is pretty rad.
yeah. Last comment on fashion stuff is I noticed because they kept cutting back to her is that Jamie Lee Curtis had kicked her shoes off at some point in the thing, so she was barefoot, which I just thought that was a very Jamie Lee Curtis thing to do,
Right.
to just not care. All right, well let's turn to the actual awards. How did everyone think? I mean, my predictions, I got all the big stuff, the actors, director, screenplays, all that stuff right. I kind of got hurt by really by a movie I really liked, All Quiet on the Western Front, winning a lot of quote unquote technical awards that I didn't think it would. But overall, I won't say I'm happy with how it went, just because, as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of Everything Ever All at Once. I don't hate it. I just don't see the appeal that everyone else does. But everything went pretty much according to plan. As Bob said, other than like, some of those like sound, cinematography, score not going the way we thought, it was a pretty predictable night.
Yeah,
How
that
was
was the
how,
only thing. Oh, excuse
sorry,
me.
go ahead, Bob.
The only thing that I thought Angela Bassett would win because she's Angela Bassett. She never won, but I was happy, even though I picked Angela Bassett. I was happy Jamie Lee Curtis won. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for her ever since I saw Halloween. So the original Halloween.
Yes.
Big
So
JLC, and I'm happy she won. Although, if we're talking performances in that category, I think Hong Chow was far and away the best of them. I love Angela Bassett too, but she didn't really have a whole lot to do in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
no,
Yeah.
she didn't. But
She,
I don't think the most of the awards are based on performances. It's how
Sure,
long
it's
you've been in the industry, how many friends you have, and I got to admit, I went into this. I really wasn't wholeheartedly into it because I'm still pissed off that Danielle Detweiler and Viola Davis never got didn't get nominated. I forgot her name, the woman who directed uh,
Woman King,
Woman King,
Gina
and
Prince
also,
Blythewood.
yeah, that she didn't get nominated. Sarah Pauly didn't get nominated for director. There was a lot of things in there that just I went into it and think, oh my God, this is like Golden Globes light.
yeah.
Yeah, Polly got her dig in her acceptance speech regarding.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I agree that there was a lot of things about the evening was in some cases was more about who didn't get nominated rather than who won. Although I don't think, if I absolutely loved Danielle Deadweiler. I thought she gave the performance of the year. I was really heartbroken that did not get nominated. But honestly, even if she had, she probably would. It would still would have come down between Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett as it did. So,
Right.
Brendan Fraser, I was really happy. There was just a lot of talk. A lot of people really thought Austin Butler was going to win, and I just I don't
I
see
was
it.
one of them.
Yeah,
Well,
I didn't see it happening. The only was there was backlash against the movie for the fat suit and all that kind of stuff. But I thought he carried the day. Ke Kwan, I'm happy for him as a person, for his journey. Like basically being out of the movies for 20 years and this amazing comeback. As written and performed, I found him just absolutely cloying and annoying. I couldn't stand him in that movie. Could not stand him.
Strong
So
disagree from me, but I like that movie a
yeah.
lot better than you
I
do.
know I am definitely in the minority. Everyone's just enraptured with him in it. So I
He's the
won't.
heart of that movie.
Yeah, I won't. I won't. I thought Stephanie Shu was actually really good. I almost would rather have seen her win over some of those. I agree. I wasn't really enamored with the best supporting actress field. I thought, Sadie Sink should have been in. I thought that gal from Woman King who played the daughter should have been in. But
She was better than Viola Davis in that movie, in my opinion.
agreed. And even the other actress whose name I can't remember who played like kind of the right hand woman. I would have liked to seen her nominated. Of the five that did, I thought Hong Chow was the best one. But yeah, what did you guys think about All Quiet on the Western Front doing unexpectedly well? I think it ended up winning 4 awards. Alec, we'll go to you first.
That movie worked a lot better for you than it sounds like it did for me. I thought it was a great technical achievement. It didn't really move me though. The movie is very cold and disturbing, honestly, which I guess is the point. I was surprised it won Best Score, even though the score is quite good. I was also surprised it won Production Design. I thought that might have been an area where Babylon, even though
Yeah,
it was a huge flop and kind of mixed reviews, the look of that movie was just outstanding, I thought. So
yeah, I'll agree. I'm definitely not a fan of Babylon. Just a really an ugly movie in a lot of in a human way, in a tonal way. Absolutely amazing costumes and sets in that film. Absolutely amazing. So I would have actually picked Babylon to win that one. I was surprised. Bob, what about you in All Quiet on the Western Front? I was just really, as it seemed like the evening was going on, and it was like it actually had at least a couple of categories where it was
Yeah.
competing with everything everywhere, and I was like, "There's no way it's going to win," and it did.
Well, picture I could see. The score didn't impress me. I mean, there was a lot of other scores I liked, better than that. It was sort of, Nick was complaining last night that, it was a 3-note score that just kept going on and on and on throughout the movie. He wasn't really impressed with it. And he just sort of threw up his hands when the score, was named as the winner. So, and production design, what do they do? Build trenches. It's World War I. And plus it I have this thing about World War I movies being in color. World War II movies I could see. World War I movies do better in black and white. Plus I have this affinity for the original 1930 version of All Quiet on the Western
Yeah,
Front that, you know, it
yeah,
wasn't that great.
yeah. A lot of people may or may not know the original All Quiet on the Western Front was, I believe, the second film to win Best Picture Oscar.
Third,
Um, Third one, excuse me, third one. So it has a bit of history there. I I liked it. I probably would not have given it score or production design. I like the score because it's a very atypical typical musical score for a film. It's very atonal. It's one of those things where the music is kind of present as opposed to just being in the background. Because really, I mean, the sound in that movie, the music and the sound is really what carries you because it's just so much long sequences with no dialogue. But I agree about the score. I would have given the prize to somebody else. It would have been interesting if All Quiet on the Western Front had won all these other awards and been nominated for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, and then not gotten international feature. So that one was probably the easiest one to call. I was disappointed that the Indiana documentary short "Stranger at the Gate" did not win. It was really thought to be in the running, so that was a tough one. This was like one of the first years in probably like 20 years that I did not catch all of the short films, so I had a tough time doing predictions on that. Bob, throw it to you. Any other particular wins or losses surprise you that you can think of?
Not really. I mean, it went sort of scripted. Navalny won for documentary, which was, of course, expected, because, you gotta, like, they're gonna think Putin's gonna look at the Oscars and go, "Ooh, I gotta release this guy from jail because the movie about him won an Oscar." Putin doesn't give a rat's butt about the Oscars or Navalny. So, it was just some sort of lame. It was I saw 4 of the 5 documentaries. That was the best one. The one that really captured my heart was Fire of Love. But,
Mhm.
that was, I knew Navalny was going to win because it's sort of made, Oscar bait type documentary.
I
Yeah.
did think director Daniel Rohrer's speech and the speech of Yulia Navalny were some of the better speeches of the night,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, they were. I hate to say it, I don't think Brendan Fraser gave a particularly good speech. He was obviously very nervous and excited and anxious, and like almost couldn't even seem to catch his breath. I mean, I think it was an authentic moment. That was really what he was experiencing. So, I'm not going to knock him for it. Compared to, Michelle Yao was very composed and classy and, old school Hollywood with her speech. So just kind of the contrast between these two. What did you guys think about animated feature Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio? Seemed like a pretty obvious front runner most of the year. Marcel the Shell with shoes on would have been my pick. Either you guys had a strong feeling about that one as a winner?
I liked it, but, I also like, Marcel with the shell. So either one, but, the whole thing with, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio was, the whole fascist subset, having Mussolini in the movie, sort of updating the story, making it an anti-Disney Pinocchio, so to speak. So I was happy with that, and I would have been just as happy if Marcel had won.
Yeah. Alec?
I'd only seen one of the or pardon me, 5 nominated movies in the category. I got some catch up to do. I was rooting for Marcel, the one I saw. It was one of my favorite movies of last year. I know you were a huge fan of Sea Beast, Chris, and
Yeah. It would not have been my pick, but I was just really happy to see Sea Beast nominated because it was Netflix only, did not get a lot of publicity, and I thought it was really really good, and I was just glad it got in there. Oh, did want to mention one last thing about the Andrea Riceborough controversy, just to refresh for people not aware. So she was in this movie too, Leslie. Tiny, tiny, tiny film. You can look it up. It made $27,000 total in theatrical revenues, which is to say, basically nobody saw it. Did not get a streaming release. It was not a Netflix or Amazon Prime thing. It's out there. You can rent it on those on Amazon Prime or wherever, but it's not on any platform. So it really didn't. Movie without a home with this, this actress who's not terribly well known, but I think respected, and they had a number of actresses, Kate Blanchett among them, who are really championing her performance, that were like hosting screenings within the industry, saying, "Hey, make sure you watch this and think about giving her a nomination." And she did. And a lot of people pointed to that as sort of like that she got the nomination, that
Danielle
Daniel
Deadweiler should have
Deadwater,
done.
but actually, really the one that most people talk about was Viola Davis. They said Viola Davis should have gotten it. Of course, Daniel Deadwater is not as much of a name. Viola Davis has already won Oscar. So I don't know. I mean, it was literally like the last feature I caught before the ceremony. I thought it was the last feature that I had not seen, but I think I ended up, there was a film nominated for original song. Oh, Tell It Like a Woman. I have not seen Tell It Like a Woman. And indeed, I will admit, prior to last night, I had not even heard of Tell It Like a Woman. So there was one feature I did not see, but I noticed that Andrea Riceborough dressed very down for the ceremony. She was wearing like a very simple dress, with like a motorcycle jacket kind of over her shoulder, and it seemed like she was going out of her way not to draw attention to herself. I mean,
With the haircut, she looked like she was cosplaying as Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby or something. It was
yeah, I don't know. Here's my take having finally seen the movie. I thought she was good in it. I didn't think it was an extraordinary film. It's a pretty standard alcoholism drama movie that I've seen a lot of times before. A lot of the Texas accents that people were doing were really egregiously bad. So I mean, it was a good movie. I thought she was good in it. But you know, if I was going to rack up all of the actresses that I think should have been nominated, she probably would have been like 10th or 11th. Sorry, Andrea.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the whole thing with her being not, and then they just, I think, showed her once during the whole entire evening. Oh, here she is. Bye. That's it. You know, she was like a non-factor. Just she was like one of those seat fillers.
Yeah, in a weird way, the way this thing has played out, I think this almost actually hurt her career more than it's helped. Maybe in the long run, just because now everyone knows her name. A lot of people who did not know her name, but like based on this, if you're like a casting director or producer or director in Hollywood, are you more or less likely to cast her in one of your movies? I would argue probably less.
she's
Yeah.
been good in a lot of cool movies though. Like she was in Mandy, she was in
Possessor,
Brandon
I loved
Cronenberg's
her in
Possessor.
Possessor.
Uh, I thought she was the best part of that Tom Cruise movie Oblivion. She was really good and interesting in that too, I thought. So
You know, well, maybe just me and my own things. All right. Any other thoughts, complaints, surprises, anything about the Oscars you want to get off your chest here? Let people
No,
know about.
I'm very happy. I won the pot last night because I I beat I got the tiebreaker. I picked the exact time the show would end, and I picked how many awards Everything Everywhere All at Once would have. So I got the two tiebreakers, and I won the pot. There was
All
only
right.
7 people there, so I only got $35, including my own money back. So it wasn't a big crowd. Should do better next year if there's a bigger crowd.
Yeah. Oh,
congratulations.
good on you,
Yeah.
Bob. Alec, how about you?
I was really happy Not to won. I'm a big fan of RRR. I know that's another flick you and I differ on. I'm still shocked Claudio Miranda didn't get nominated for cinematography for Top Gun Maverick. That seems wild to me. Um, but overall, I was happy with the show. Everything Everywhere All at Once was my favorite movie of 2022, and it did well.
Yeah, I'll close out just mentioning RRR. Yeah, I've tried not to be too out there about it because I'm a big, I believe big believer in, try not to yuck other people's yums. I did not care for the movie. There's some things about it I like. Not to, that whole scene, that whole sequence is amazing. And if you could have like a 20-minute short film with that as the centerpiece, I think I would have liked it a lot. But yeah, it did not need to be 3 hours long. It did not need to have half the runtime be in slow motion, but that'll be my take. Another one like Kehu Kwan, where I realize that I'm sitting over here and everyone else in the crowd is over here, and that's okay. But that's what being the Oscars are all about. It's very rare that my actual favorite film wins the Oscar for Best Picture. And just like it's not what life is all about. You're there to cheer them on, but also to understand that people are not going to see things the way you see them, but we're all joined together by our love of movies, and that's what's really important.
And making fun of fashion.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Tune in for our next podcast, which will be whenever we come up with a topic that we feel like doing. And thanks for joining us.